Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Baseball is back in the Twin Tiers as the Elmira Pioneers kicked off their 2021 season. Now, this is the first time local fans have seen the team play in over 11 months. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst was at Dunn Field last night as the Pioneers took to the diamond.
Good evening, Ann. The field is manicured, the players are warming up, and the stadium gates are now open for fans to come on in. For the first time in nearly 2 years, baseball is back in Elmira. The gates of Dunn Field welcomed hundreds of fans on opening night. For the first time in over 11 months, fans could finally enjoy the sights and sounds of an Elmira Pioneers game.
I love it. It's amazing actually to be able to come back out and support the local teams.
We all need this. Get out of the pandemic. I am looking forward to this.
The Elmira Pioneers have been a community staple for over 130 years. Over that span, their baseball seasons have been canceled twice. Once for the Vietnam draft and once for COVID-19. For Robert Decker, this year's home opener offers fans a reprieve from last year's pandemic woes.
It's about time that they can get back out and do everything and actually start and spend time with friends and get to the field, and obviously you see the kids are all excited about it.
Despite scattered showers and the Bat Via Muck Dogs defeating Elmira, nothing dampened the mood this opening night. The Pioneers were shown how much this game means to the fan base.
This is an integral part of this community. The community needs them as much as they need the communities.
Go Pioneers! Go Pioneers!
Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Elmira.
New York is warning residents of a scam targeting the state's retirees. Officials say the scam is sent via text and looks like it's sent from the Office of the State Comptroller. The scammers then try to trick people by promising reduced taxes and adding money to a state retiree fund. Residents who get these messages should report them to the State Comptroller's website. Federal authorities are stepping up efforts to combat cyber attacks on American companies. Now, this comes after recent ransomware attacks on some key industries. Reed Binion reports.
The government is going to have to step up and find ways to put pressure on these criminals.
Cybersecurity expert John Hultquist speaking of the growing cyber threat to the nation's critical infrastructure and industries. That warning coming as the Department of Justice turns up the heat on how authorities hunt down cybercriminals. An internal DOJ memo signaling the department will prioritize ransomware attacks the same way it does terrorism. But the Biden administration says those efforts alone won't be enough. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki saying private industry must also take action.
The federal government, under the leadership of President Biden, has been stepping up to strengthen the nation's defenses against cyber attacks, but we can't do it alone.
The National Security Council's top cyber official penning an open letter to business leaders nationwide, saying in part, quote, "We urge you to take ransomware crimes seriously and ensure your corporate cyber defenses match the threat." This all comes in the wake of two recent disruptive ransomware attacks targeting major industries, most recently on global meat supplier JBS, and last month, the attack that shut down the Colonial Fuel Pipeline, with panic buying leading to gas shortages in multiple states. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
We are learning more about how individual countries are planning to use some 80 million doses of U.S. vaccines pledged by President Biden on Thursday. Jonathan Seri has more from Atlanta.
COVID is getting contained. The daily average of new cases in the U.S. now just over 16,000, a 10% decrease from last week and the lowest number in more than a year. The feds are now setting their sights on the rest of the world, announcing a new vaccine sharing plan that will see up to 80 million unused doses shipped to countries in need. But it's already causing some controversy. Mexico announcing they'll use most of their donated doses in border areas and at resorts, and several other Central American countries plan to do the same, saying it is a vital part of bringing jobs back.
Economic recovery must be sustainable, resilient, and directly related to vaccine access.
The National Month of Action proclaimed by President Biden is underway, with the goal of getting 70% of American adults at least one dose by the 4th of July. A big part of the plan, partnering up with dozens of private organizations to provide free child care for those getting vaccinated.
having a child and nowhere to go shouldn't be a barrier for them. And so that's how the Y is addressing that.
Meanwhile, the CDC issuing a new report Friday warning of a possible link between COVID vaccines and a rare heart inflammation in teenage boys. But they also say the risk of serious illness due to COVID is much higher than the possible vaccine complication.
It demonstrates the level of severe disease, even among youth, that are preventable.
Right now, the inflammation has only been detected in a handful of patients who received either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
The intersection where George Floyd was killed has been closed for an entire year. But on Thursday, the phased reopening began. The barriers were removed in the morning and traffic briefly flowed. But activists then created their own barriers and blocked traffic again. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield has more.
As the concrete barriers came down, emotions flared up.
We got more pushback than help. We got more pushback than help.
The place where George Floyd died is now a place for remembrance. It's a place that's been guarded by civilian volunteers who blocked the area off from police.
And all we asked for was some restorative justice. That the trauma that the community endured, that the harm would be repaired prior to the reopening of the streets. But instead, we were met with more trauma this morning. The city told us that they would let us know in advance before they reopen the streets. That didn't happen.
George Floyd's aunt, who lives in Minneapolis, says she didn't know either.
I don't understand how all these decisions are being made and they don't give me the respect of his family to tell me what is going on.
Another person who spoke with us here said he had an opinion he thought might be unpopular, so he asked us not to show his face on camera.
When all of this started in the beginning of the year, it was beautiful, you know what I mean? It was amazing. It was nice to see the community get together. It was nice to see that everyone was just having a good time while supporting something that really matters, you know? But now it's been a year. It's time to shut down the barriers. It's time to let people live their lives. It's time for people to just have a normal life, you know what I mean? There are businesses here who, these people, they can't even come in and out. They have to struggle to come in and out. You have people guarding it like it's a military site.
Stop with us today.
Some of the Guardians say they'll stand their ground. Others say they'll reassess as the future is unclear for this very historic site.
The weekly unemployment report recently released shows the lowest number of claims since the pandemic began. Signs the economy is recovering, but Republicans say overspending by the government could erase those wins. Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
The Labor Department has announced 559,000 jobs were added in May. The number is below estimates, but far better than April's report. The unemployment rate dropped from 6.1% to 5.8%.
This is progress, historic progress. Progress that's pulling our economy out of the worst crisis it's been in 100 years.
But many employers say they can't find workers.
There is no shortage of jobs. Every sector is hiring.
Republicans point to $300 per week federal unemployment checks as the reason some won't head back to work.
These employers just cannot get the workers back on the job.
President Biden and Democrats say a robust infrastructure bill is needed, which includes investments in childcare to help women get back into the workforce. But Republicans say only traditional infrastructure should be included in the bill with a limited price tag and no tax increases. President Biden set this Monday as his deadline for an agreement. Republicans are expected to offer a new deal on Friday.
The president has said that this can't go on forever. There has to be an end point, and hopefully that is sooner rather than later.
If no compromise, Democratic leaders may try to pass the bill alone, but they may not have all of their own on board with that strategy. Moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he wants a bipartisan deal.
We have to look at the needs that we have and also what we can afford to pay for and what we're willing to pay for. This is all part of the process that we're going through right now.
In May, 9.3 million Americans were unemployed, still well above 5.7 million unemployed in February of last year. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Harry Potter fans are now able to step inside the magical wizarding world in a one-of-a-kind store. The world's only Harry Potter merchandise store, Harry Potter New York, opened its doors to visitors on Thursday. The store, dedicated to selling all things themed after the novels and films, not only sells the merchandise of your Hogwarts house, but it also offers interactive games at the store, photo opportunities with Dumbledore, and more. It also showcases an exact mold of Dumbledore's rotating staircase and exclusive wands featuring the Golden Snitch. Still ahead tonight, the competitive housing market has some home buyers trying to sway sellers with love letters, including pictures, videos, and notes about their families.
These love letters are not that lovely, right? And they actually just open us up for things that we've been trying to get away from for years.
Ahead, a warning from realtors who say that such letters can pose serious problems.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. Now that our rain chances are starting to diminish, we are expecting near record heat for the next few days. Our record highs are mainly in the 90s from Saturday through your Monday, and our forecast calls for temperatures that will be in the lower 90s. So it is going to be quite hot, feeling a lot like summer as we head into the weekend. So for tomorrow, high pressure really starts to build in and it starts to strengthen over the eastern half of the country, and that's going to leave us with much warmer conditions than today. In fact, many of us will reach highs in the 90s. There will be the possibility of rain well to our north. For our area, I'm expecting maybe just a few passing clouds, but we are going to stay dry for your Saturday. Temperatures on average around 76 degrees in the afternoon. Tomorrow, we are going to climb about 10 degrees above that, and because of the humidity, it is going to feel a few degrees warmer than the actual reading. Plenty of sunshine during the day and then clear conditions in the evening hours, but again, be prepared for temperatures that will be about 10 degrees warmer than today. Near record heat continues through your Sunday and through your Tuesday as this high starts to bring that warm air and it lifts it to the north into Canada. So it's going to be most of the country that's going to be seeing this heat, and then there will be some relief to this heat as we head into the middle of next week. There will be another storm system coming in from the south, and it is going to spread a little bit of rain across our area, and then temperatures will start to cool down behind that cold front. So here's a look at your forecast tonight. We drop down to around 58 degrees, both in Corning and also in Elmira. 61 degrees, though, in Perkinsville. Highs tomorrow will be around 89 degrees in Corning, 90 degrees in Elmira, and around 86 degrees in Perkinsville. Your 7-day forecast calls for 90s to remain through early next week, but here comes our cool spell with that next storm system. There could be a little bit of rain late in the day on Tuesday that will continue into your Wednesday. By the end of the week, highs will drop down into the 70s, so we're going to be a little bit closer to normal, and we should see a little bit more sunshine as well. Overnight lows will drop back down into the 50s.
As the pace of U.S. COVID-19 vaccinations continues to slow down, there's growing concern among the tens of millions of Americans with weakened immune systems and may not get adequate protection from the vaccine. Mandy Gaither has more in today's Health Minute.
It's touted as one of the greatest defenses against COVID-19.
Our overarching aim is to get as many safe and effective vaccines to as many people as fast as possible.
But for tens of millions of Americans who have weakened immune systems, COVID-19 vaccines may not work as well. Several studies suggest some people who take immunosuppressants might not have had a strong response to the vaccine and therefore might not be protected against the virus. These drugs are used to treat common conditions such as psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and more.
We have to address those problems because there are a substantial number of people in the United States and worldwide who do not have an adequate immune response.
That's why the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases will soon start a study to help determine the best approach to help those who are immunocompromised.
To temporarily suspend their immunosuppressive therapy when we vaccinate them, or to give them additional boosters, we're not quite sure, but we have to address those problems.
Biotechnology company Regeneron says it's also considering research proposals to test whether its antibody drug could help patients who didn't have an adequate response to COVID-19 vaccines. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The housing market is red hot, and real estate agents are seeing an uptick in the so-called love letters to the seller to make their offer stand out. But some agents are saying these letters pose a serious problem. Shelby Lofton has more.
Sometimes it's not just about the money.
Buyers are pouring out their souls on paper to get in the front of the line.
I've seen one that was written in a way of a poem.
Christy Gooch says in this hot market, sellers are choosing amongst several offers. She says buyers are relying heavily on a not-so-new tool, love letters.
They've become way more prevalent in the last 12 to 18 months.
It was a cute concept before.
Now, Guide Realty principal broker Raquel Carter doesn't recommend sellers read the letters.
These love letters are not that lovely, right? And they actually just open us up for things that we've been trying to get away from for years.
Buyers will include pictures, video, and notes about their family's characteristics. A lot of that information is a protected class under the Fair Housing Act.
The realtor said letters that don't include any personal information protected by the Fair Housing Act are fine to write.
You or your client want to talk about how much they love the house, you know, how well the sellers have taken care of the house, how beautifully they've decorated it and updated it. Those things are okay.
The realtors said buyers can be easily swayed.
Unconscious bias is the dangerous part, and sometimes it's conscious.
To make it fair and safe, they recommend focusing on the numbers.
Pick the offer that is best for you, not necessarily because you like the person on the other side.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Follow these rules to avoid violating fair housing laws too. In Lexington, Shelby Lofton, WKYT.
Need to get your nails done? Skip the salon. Call a robot. Jeannie Mose reports on a robot that nails it.
It's not exactly a cure for getting manicures.
Robot nails.
It's a robo-manicure.
The robot doesn't expect tips.
Instead of the buzz of conversation, there's the whirring noise of the robot. A company named Clockwork debuted 2 robots at a pop-up store in San Francisco recently. The robot takes a 3D photo of each nail, then paints it. Says one of the first customers.
For $8, I'm happy to have a robot do a much better job than I could do.
Posted one commenter, so I wouldn't have to make awkward conversation? Love it. But others were worried. This is kind of sad. I love my nail lady. She works so hard for her business. Clockwork's co-founder says what they do is different from salons.
Quick serve beauty is what we call it. We are going to be the express beauty experience. Versus, the artistry and the relaxation of a nail salon.
Eventually, they hope to put the nail robots in airports, malls, and gyms. Another company is working on a similar device for home use, selling for $400. The robo-manicure caused one commenter to post, "I would be terrified it would eat my fingers." But Clockwork's other co-founder says that's just a movie-inspired fear.
Terminator, what could it do? And the reality is that the machine is very safe. No one has ever been hurt by it.
Though they have a jokey nickname.
We call it Frankie, which is short for Frankenstein.
What can't Frankie do? No clipping, no filing, no cutting cuticles. Forget doing acrylics or customizing them with real money. And nail aficionados like Machine Gun Kelly will never be satisfied with a robo manicure.
Amazing manicure.
Forget comparisons to
Barbie digital nail printer.
That may print designs, but it can't paint. And for $8 to $10 a manicure, Frankenstein's creators are hoping customers say,
I'll be back.
Ford Motor Company could have to pay more than $1 billion for importing vans from Europe. That's because the carmaker was avoiding duty taxes for years. Here's how it worked. Ford would build its Transit Connect vans in Turkey, then ship them to the United States, where the windows and seats were immediately stripped out of many of the vehicles to convert them into cargo vans. That way, Ford would only pay a 2.5% duty imposed on passenger vehicles imported from Europe, rather than the 25% duty the U.S. imposed on trucks. Ford said it intends to fight the penalty. A sad movie scene has served as the inspiration for a 3-year-old's birthday cake. Her quirky decision to have the death of the Lion King made into a cake has gone viral. David Schumann has more from Minneapolis.
What is Scar saying? I'm gonna be king.
There was never a doubt the Lion King would factor into Leona Faye's 3rd birthday party. She loves it. So Leona asked for a cake.
Who's your favorite character in The Lion King?
Mufasa.
A cake depicting a very specific scene from the movie.
And I felt really embarrassed asking because I thought they would think that I was a horrible parent, you know. I was like, so here's the thing. This is what my child said. I thought it was funny. We're just gonna go with it.
Leona wanted the moment that's been ripping hearts out since the mid-90s, Mufasa's death. That way, Leona said, everyone would be so sad they wouldn't want to eat the cake and she'd have it all to herself.
How'd it taste?
Good. So yummy, so yummy.
Really gets comedy, and that's important in our family, that you can tell a joke and sell a joke, and she's already figuring that out at the age of 3.
Rosalie Davis with the Thirsty Whale Bakery in North Minneapolis brought the unique request to life.
Normally the 3-year-old cakes don't have dead characters on them.
Now Rosalie just wants to meet Leona.
The person asking for the cake was probably more interesting than the cake.
The sweet and yes, empathetic 3-year-old's popularity has grown beyond just Twin Cities cake decorators. Her Uncle Casey's tweet about it has nearly 750,000 likes.
I've been joking that every year she's got to go more viral.
One cake at a time.
Let's just fulfill this really random cake request that we'll look back at in like 10 years and laugh.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. From Abbott's Gold, Zwister to cheddar and mozzarella, there should be a type you enjoy. Today is National Cheese Day. Cheese is produced from the pressed curds of milk. The milk can come from cows, buffalo, goats, or sheep. Temperature and aging affect the flavor and texture of cheese, as well as spices and other seasonings added during the process. Cheese.com, yes, there's such a thing, lists more than 1,800 kinds of cheese available worldwide. But what are the most popular cheeses in the U.S.? According to a 2013 Food Service Research Institute survey, they are mozzarella, cheddar, Parmesan, Monterey Jack, and Swiss. And now I'm hungry. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night.